So we're going to start today by reviewing classifications of lines by slope. And so we have here are 4 different types of classifications of lines. Our first one here is, you can see if we have positive slope or a line is increasing. And remember that we read a graph the way that we read words. We start at the left and go to the right. If we look over here, we start at the left and move to the right, and we can see we're decreasing, and that's a negative slope. If we look at the third one here, we can see that we have a horizontal line, and the horizontal line is a slope of 0. And this last one, we have undefined slope, and that is a vertical line. The first thing we're going to review is being able to count slope given a graph. So if we take a look at our first example here, the first thing that we might want to notice and we want to think about is that if we look at it from left to right, that it is increasing. And so therefore I know that this would have to be a positive slope when I get done. The next thing I want to think about is the way that we define slope. So we know that the variable m is used to designate slope, and we refer to it as the change in y over the change in x. This is also can be called the amount of rise over the amount of run. And so if we look to count here, we can say that if we wanted to count from, we have 2 points. The first point we're going to look at right here, and the second point is right there. And if we go to count, we could say that we would count up 1, 2, 3, 4. Up 4 is a rise of positive 4. And then we're going to count to the right 1, 2. And so that is a run of 2. So notice that when we counted up, that was a positive 4. And then when we counted to the right, that was a positive 2. And so our rise over run, when we calculate it, we think about how we move on the coordinate plane. The rise is positive if we move up. It is negative if we move down. Our run is positive if we're moving to the right and negative if we're moving to the left. Now the last thing we want to do is we want to simplify our slope if possible, just like if it were a fraction. So 4 over 2 would tell us that this slope is 2. And if we look at this, if we were going to apply 2, that would be up 2 and over 1, and you could see we would find another point on the line. Now keep in mind that it doesn't matter what quantity you count first. For example, if you started up at the point that's at the top and you counted down 4, well, that would be a negative 4 move, and we would know that it would go there. And then if we counted left 2, that would be a negative 2 move, which would go there. And you could see that why we simplify is that we still end up with a slope of 2. All right, let's take a look at another example. And as soon as I look at this example, I can see that my slope is negative because it's decreasing. So I know that when I get done, I know my answer should be negative. If I start to think about that slope is that change in y over change in x, the difference, or excuse me, the amount of rise over the amount of run. and we have a point here and a point here. And so if I count, oops, there we go. If I go to count my slope, and let's happen to say that this time I move to the right first. And I go 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, right 4 is a positive 4 move. But I need to know that what I just counted there was the run. And that run needs to go in the denominator. And then if I count down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's a negative 5, and that needs to go in the numerator because that was my rise. If you wanted to count it a different way, let's say that we wanted to start at this point here and go to this point here, but let's say we counted down first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be a negative 5 move. And that negative 5 is representing the rise. And then to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4. To the right 4 would be a positive 4 move, and that's representing the run. So you see that as long as we count between the same 2 points, and we simplify our answer and we make sure that we know that the numerator is always representing the rise, which is the number of spaces up or down. Up moves being positive, down moves being negative, and the run is in the denominator. The run is the number of spaces right or left, right being positive, left being negative. Now let's look at the next example. If we look at this one, we can see that what we have here is a horizontal line. And so let's pick any 2 points on this horizontal line. Pick this point here, which is the point -2, -2. And let's just go with this point here, which is the point 3, -2. And so if we go to look at the slope there, we might automatically just know that the slope of a horizontal line is 0, okay? But if we forget, we can figure out from the counting. So if I go to count from this point to this point, the number of spaces that I move up or down is 0. I don't need to move any up or down to get from this point here to this point here. I do have to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces to the right. 0 divided by any number then is going to give me an answer of 0. So it really wouldn't matter if you counted those spaces as +5 or if you moved in this direction, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and divided by a -5. It doesn't matter because 0 divided by any number is still 0. So we want to get in our mind that the slope of any horizontal line is going to be 0. We may have even noticed that at the very beginning, when we looked at those ordered pairs, that you would see that looking at the ordered pairs, do you notice that the y coordinates are the same? And so we aren't having any movement in the rise. We're not moving up or down at all. All right, let's look at one last example. And this example is a vertical line. And if we go to look at a vertical line, we're going to pick 2 points, any two. I'm going to select -2, -2, and -2, -3. Apologize. This is up here is -2, +3. Okay, so if we go to count this for those 2 points, that's my up or down. Up is positive, down is negative. Right or left, right is positive, left is negative. If I go to count, if I move from this point here to this point here, I'm going up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's a +5. And I don't have to move any right or left at all, so that's divided by 0. Now, even if I decided to start up here, if I counted down, I would still have a -5 divided by 0. And any time that 0 is under in the denominator, division by 0 in math is undefined. And so therefore, the slope here is undefined. It doesn't matter what this number is here. If 0 is under the denominator of the fraction, then our slope for that is undefined. And every vertical line will have a slope that is undefined.